but soon he will learn manners. I will torture his body so that his soul learns to be humble.
Okay, he know we just talking here, right? I mean, we just getting people interested in
Cage Against the Machine.
Cage Cousins, we shouldn't have left you. We shouldn't have left you without something to step to. We are Cage Against the Machine, Round Zero, the premier UFC MMA podcast about wellness, mental health, mixed martial arts, hood jokes, comic books, hip-hop, and doing right by yourself. We're here to discuss UFC 247, Jones versus Reyes. I don't do this alone. I do this with my friends, my co-host, my co-founder, my ace boon coon, Mr. Brane Damage himself.
Yo.
Everything that we make here, created, edit, put together, produced by the illustrious DeShawn Davis. And we have a very special guest tonight. Well, I'll let him introduce himself, and then I'm going to tell you why he's here. On my right, we have the Matador.
Hector el Matador, Fajardo.
Who is on a 3-0.
Yeah.
Corrected me.
Yeah.
3-0 win streak.
Yes, sir.
In the illustrious Spanish language MMA league known as Combates Americanos. Did I say that right, or should I be moved to another state?
No, that works. You'll get the picture.
You'll get the picture. Is Combate an official feeder into the UFC?
Officially, no, I wouldn't say officially, but
I can watch it on Fight. I can watch it on UFC TV. I can watch it on Fight Pass, right?
I believe not. No.
Okay.
They're actually, you know what? They've been switching things up. They used to have a DAZN
Got
contract.
it. Right.
That didn't happen, and so that's not a thing anymore. They did just sign a Access TV contract.
Ooh.
Nice. So they're on Access TV as far as English speaking content goes.
Competitive.
And then Univision's been big with them. They've been running with them hard. So that's...
One might even argue they're aiming to be the ONE FC of Latin America.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
The ratings have been through the roof on Univision and all Latin channels. It's been massive. And then they've been killing it. They'll put a lot of the showings or the tapings on right around midnight, sometimes 2 a.m. The night of the fight on Univision. Good old Channel 14 for my Bay Area folks.
Yeah.
And the ratings have been good. Like it's crazy that it's hitting like that. You know, you got the Latin community really jumping in and watching Combate, which is awesome.
Which you should.
Oh, 100%.
Are your fight nights on Friday nights or Saturdays?
Yeah, no. So that's the funny thing. They're all on Friday, which is a pain in the butt for people to come watch because it's like 6 or 7 on a Friday. It's like people are getting off work and trying to go to the fights. It's kind of a pain. But as far as like competition, it fits in perfect because they're not stepping on anybody's toes or anything like that, and everybody can come in. Everybody watches. Like the rating, it shows the numbers. If you guys look at the numbers, Campbell from Combate always posts up the numbers. The numbers are always strong.
Yeah, that's dope. That fits in with that Access TV because
yes,
they would always have the Friday night fights with the LFA, and I noticed that LFA went to Fight Pass.
Yeah,
so that's dope that they were like, okay, we need y'all now.
Yeah. The contract's pretty new, and they just started reeling out like the best of Combate highlights. I made one of the best submissions of 2019, so that was pretty dope. One of the top.
What was the submission?
Triangle armbar.
Nice.
We don't know which one he tapped to first. But he tapped. And it's actually funny because a year ago, when I was on the show, exactly a year ago for the first time, that's when I dropped the fight news for that fight. And I fought February 22nd of that year. And things are lining up again. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to jump on that Fresno card for February 28th. I'm on standby. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting on an opponent. But seems to be perfect timing because it's like lined up almost exactly the same way. A year ago, I was announcing, I'm making my Combate debut here on the show, and now it's like, look, man, a year later, it's like I'm back on Combate again, hopefully for February, end of February, in Fresno again. You know, good things seem to happen when I go to Fresno. I always say that.
And when you come to Cage Against the Machine,
100%.
Fighters, you need to give to get. 100%. Couldn't be more proud, man. I'm really happy to hear that. And a little bit of background, as I explained to Brane, I've known this young man since he was 14. And I won't bore you with this story, but we got into a little bit of scuffle at a program I was teaching. And he's like, what was that you did? And I was like, oh, it's called Sancho. And then one day he hit me up and he's like, oh, I'm training with Kung Lee. So if I'm not clear about my bias, this dude is from my martial arts lineage. So to be able to see a young person not only do something more than me and quicker and faster, and then also take it to that level, I'm only going to push him and encourage him. It's
crazy how our paths started and lined up, because when I met Mr. Sweet, call him Mr. Sweet because that's my high school teacher. I had no clue what mixed martial arts was. I hardly had any kind of martial arts experience outside of kung fu movies and a little bit of boxing here and there. So it's like for him to break out like, oh yeah, I know Sancho. I'm like, what's that? Like my friends and I were like, yeah, what's this kung fu stuff? Like, but it's funny down the line. He went one direction, I went the other direction. We still found our way. We went parallel, but you know, he went on with the MMA podcasting. He still went down his line, and then I went through college, and I ended up going on this path, and then our paths crossed. It's just crazy that we've been able to maintain that, but yet here we are.
I like how he's like, what's Sancho?
Yeah.
In the Latin community, that means something different.
What is that? Yeah, seriously.
Sancho?
Yeah.
Poncho? No.
Yeah.
My wife has a great phrase. She just talks about that, you know, we all have these roads, and that sometimes you get off on a detour, and when your mind is right and your spirit is right, you can always find your way back to the main road.
No, for sure.
I reread a book that was hugely inspirational to me. You ever heard of Carlos Castaneda? He wrote this great book called Journey to Ixtlan, wrote a bunch of them. He talked about on the road to Ixtlan, don't fall for the phantoms, right? Mm. So when you change your life and you become a martial artist, and again, he's a professional martial artist, which means he expresses his art through controlled violence. But the mindset and the philosophy behind that is being a martial artist. It's being an artist. And when you commit yourself to that, your mindset changes and the way you deal with the world changes. And you start finding that you have to make choices. And choices are about making sacrifices, much like business. So surprise, surprise that we met at me teaching him entrepreneurship, and then he took that to become not only an entrepreneur, but also to be a martial artist, right?
Yes.
So my hope is that when you are hugely successful, you know, I get to look over and see all the investments you have, and you're not like, man, I'm broke having to sell my trophies and my belts, you know, because that would kill me.
Yeah.
Other announcements, let's see. Happy Black History Month. Thank you very much.
That's funny that you bring that up, and he was talking about how a year ago he was announcing that he was fighting on February 22nd because at my school we're doing our Black History celebration on February the 22nd this month. So,
which is great.
You know, I'm doing my presentation is going to be the history of reggae music. So
lovely.
Yeah.
Aren't you so glad you read that book? Aren't you glad you read that book?
Right.
So
and the Kevin the Gospelin.
Yes. Back.
That was deep.
That's deep stuff.
He forced me. He was like, "No, you gonna read this book, see."
No, I was on my Ice Cube from Higher Learning. I was like, I don't mess with people who don't read. You hear that, DeShawn? I don't mess with people who don't read. Hey. Speaking of which, DeShawn, you did an amazing job with the video last time.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
Thank you.
It was hilarious and amazing. I love that. You know why? Because I may never be 3-0 in any championship, but I will always be a black belt in meme martial arts.
Right.
I started this meme-ish, and this is the MF and thanks I get.
UFC 246 plug.
Speaking of champions.
Yeah, I knew you was gonna have to get your little.
Yeah, baby, Super Bowl.
I knew you was gonna have to get your little. We won't give black people ownership happiness. Go ahead. Go ahead. Cool.
Facts.
Cool. Go ahead. Congratulations, San Francisco. You're in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, the place that Joe Montana went. You guys
all red.
You guys wear the same colors. I'm sure that's a coincidence.
Red and gold versus red and yellow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Okay. If your team loses, you know what's going to happen the next morning.
What?
Troll City.
Right, yeah, rhymes with Rex.
City.
Rhymes with Rex. I told you it's prearranged. You know what's not?
I know. Either way, they did way better than I expected this year.
Fair.
So I'm happy
That's
about
true.
it.
But they're going to pay for that stadium. You know it's and also not prearranged. A lot of things going on. So here's the interesting moment that I just learned. I'm probably watch everything the UFC puts out as a product. I watch every fight. I watch the fight nights. I watch the documentaries. I hope that I get one of those Daniel Cormier details for this month.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the documentaries. I loved that Why I Fight with Kat Zagano. That was raw. But Brane here is great because he watches everything that is MMA. So he will definitely be filling me in on all the other stuff to be watching. He's a hardcore Bellator fan, One FC fan, Combate fan, all that. But for you,
One FCs kind of get hard to watch sometimes because they come on at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, you and that soccer stuff, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting up at 4 in the morning. Like I did that when we were 19 to watch Pride. I'm not doing that at 42.
Right.
I'm not watching nothing in the middle of the night. If I get up in the middle of the night, there better be money involved.
I set the DVR. Nowadays, I set the DVR.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do, but now I'm just run everything through my Fire Stick, so I don't have that anymore.
But we're going to be watching your fight.
Yeah. So that's been making it a little bit more difficult for me to keep up with everything, but
Tell you what, we might even organize something sneaky for you. There's a bar we do a fight party at.
Okay.
Called Seawolf.
Ooh.
That is in Oakland. They're dope, super connected with our family. They always host fight parties. It's probably the illest place in the Bay Area to watch. And the family is Chicano. So I think maybe we work out something when you know you have your fight. We'll do something. We'll have a fight party there for your fight, and then also maybe have you come back and sign some autographs or something.
I'd love that.
Okay.
That'd be dope.
That is dope.
So
And that's how shit gets done.
So what are you excited about right now in your career? What is it the thing like as a martial artist? What keeps you going? What are you like, This is every day at the gym. I love this.
Oh man, it's funny you should ask that because right now it's maintaining my momentum.
Okay.
My momentum's been at such a high in the past year. Before that first combate fight, like things were just starting to pick up. And then that fight, I had a massive win. And that just kicked up so much steam because, I mean, I was brought in to lose to the other guy in a sense. I was brought in kind of on short notice to be as a feeder to him.
Right.
Because he was the hometown favorite. He outsold everybody on the event. And the booze in there was ridiculous. But it was good. I finished him in front of his own home crowd. So that picked up a lot of steam. And then coming out of that fight, a lot of things just clicked. It's just like, okay, cool. You know, mentally, I just started picking things up. And then as soon as I got done with that fight, I was in the gym on Monday. That Monday, I jumped in and I just kept going and I just kept maintaining. And I kept telling myself, as long as I feel good, I'm going to keep training and I'm not taking time off.
Right.
And I hardly miss a day. I mean, it's known at Alpha Male. I'm one of the guys, like, the best compliment Uriah Faber ever told me was, if I ever need to take a day off, take a day off. He would tell me, he's like, hey man, maybe you should take a day off. And I'm like, no, that's what Sunday's for. But fun jokes on him. I train on Sundays now too.
Right.
But I've been keeping up the momentum and I've just been hungry with the progress and like just staying motivated and ready even through that year. Because after that fight in February, I didn't fight until November, but I was chomping at the bit as far as finding opportunities to fight. And so many fights fell out from that February moment. I was trying to jump on Bellator. I was trying to jump on any of the regional cards, Dragon House. I was chomping at everybody and matchups kept falling out. I was hitting up Combate. And then again, matchups just kept falling out time after time after time. But I just stayed in the gym the whole time. And during that time, it's like I developed that process of like, instead of worrying about preparing for somebody, it's like, I'm just going to work on myself and work on what I have, what I need to fix and getting sharper and getting cleaner and just to the point where it doesn't matter who I have in front of me. Before it used to be matchup dependent. Like, oh man, I hope I don't fight this kind of guy because this is going to be my hole, or this is going to be. Now it's like to the point where it's like, man, it doesn't matter. You know, I took that time also to help a lot of alpha male fighters with their camps. Right. I think that's where I grew the most. You know, I'm a rangy southpaw, so I was used for Michael Johnson looks by Josh Emmett, Andre Feely. Anybody that had to fight Michael Johnson, it was like, as soon as I got done with my fight in Combate, Josh Emmett was like, hey man, you're a long southpaw. I'm like, yeah. He's like, how tall are you? I'm like, I don't know, 5'9", 5'10". And he's like, can I start using you for my fight camp or for my fight week? And I'm looking at him like,
we'll see how that turned out.
I'm like, who are you fighting, man? And he's like, I'm like, let me guess, Michael Johnson. I'm like, yeah, I just helped Feely with that one. Yeah, I got you. And it's like 8 weeks of literally seeing your life flash before your eyes because Josh Emmett is, you know, beating the crap out of you in the nicest way possible. And just growing from those experiences, you know, staying in the gym. It's like, okay, cool. Emmett had his fight. You saw the results on that. You know, Clay had his fight, had to fight a southpaw. Cool. I jumped in, helped out Clay. Yeah. Elkins had to fight Ryan Hall. I helped out as much with that. Anybody that needed a southpaw, I was the guy. So that boosted me so much as a martial artist. And that's basically how I filled my time and my sanity just training until I fought. Man, because I didn't fight until November.
Did you start as a southpaw or did you train?
I started always as a southpaw.
Wow.
Always been a southpaw. And the thing is, I never left the gym. I was in there every single day, consistently every morning and working. And in that time, I filled so many holes and so many weaknesses and just grew. And
how does one address weaknesses, do you feel, without getting into specifics?
No, it's pretty obvious. And you can see it in that Combate fight. If you look at every single amateur fight, my problem was wrestling.
Okay.
Everybody put me on my butt and try to lay on me and, you know, not let me get up. That's, you know, and try to nullify my jiu-jitsu. My jiu-jitsu was pretty good.
Yeah.
But that was the whole, just wrestling. And then, like, addressing that at alpha male, like, you're going to get that fixed. If you're in the room, you're going to get that fixed.
Right.
And again, if you watch that fight in Combate, the first one against Avalos tried to smother me on the cage for every opportunity he got, and he hardly could take me down. When he did take me down, I got back up. When he took me down in the second round again, I tapped him. So it's like, now it's like you see the blueprint of like, okay, well, obviously, you know, trying to take this guy down, smash him, and put him on the ground isn't going to work anymore, because I would turn everybody into a wrestler. Like, striking wise, like, hardly anybody would want to strike.
Right.
So,
which is the years with Kung Lee. Yeah.
But now moving into my second Combate fight, like, man, if you watch the film on that, no disrespect to Aaron Vickers, he's a great, tough guy. I smashed him. I dominated from bell to bell.
Right.
And I put on an absolute striking clinic. Like, nice. I did not get touched in that fight. I hardly got touched.
And do you find, you know, so back to what I was talking about with the development of the self, like, do you find like when you first were dealing with these wrestlers, you're like, does that voice come up? Man, I'm a judo guy. Judo's supposed to eat wrestling for lunch. What's happening?
It did.
Am I whack?
No.
Am I not who I think I am? What's going on with that?
Well, the thing is making adjustments in my judo, because I'm not wearing a gi.
Right.
So that's tough enough.
That's true.
I had this really bad habit, because in judo, once you throw them on your back, it's over, even if they re-roll.
Right, you reset. Yes.
So
yes.
That was a problem, because I would maybe hit these beautiful throws, and then I would get re-rolled and then end up on my back.
Yeah.
Or like, and that's where the scramble aspect comes in, where it's like, I have to get my wrestling up, or I have to make adjustments to my game. And of course, being in that room, you have to, or you're gonna get eaten alive.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of that. It's just getting put through the ringer every day, and just making adjustments, and then also being around such great minds and coaches who are like, hey, let's, you know, fix this, or, you know, upping my wrestling, or fixing my, you know, there's so many great minds in that room, and just making those adjustments. And then at the same time, adjusting my striking, not just as a good striker, good grappler, but a good MMA martial artist. Like, that's the biggest thing, is blending it all.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. Like, fighting in the clinch, breaking off, being able to strike and stay clean. Just it's a whole thing. I think it's a whole blend that needs to be addressed. You can't be just one or the other, or one and the other. You must be able to do all of the above and blend it all.
We always talk about this analogy, and I think it will go hand in hand with you for entrepreneurship. We talk about, what is your martial arts? Is your martial arts an app that was built from scratch? Is your martial arts like an OS and you put a bunch of things on top of it? Is your martial arts like a closed stack? And so I know for me, one of the things that I've thought through a little bit is like when you look at people's platform in terms of martial arts, there are principles like wrestling, striking, cardio, right? Footwork. There are arts, Sancho, judo, taekwondo, boxing. When you deal with some of these arts, under their rule sets, you could be a master. But in MMA, there's probably only 6 techniques that are applicable.
Yeah.
And you have to start building things from scratch again.
Yes.
I knew one of the blind spots for me was for a while, in Sancho rules, you reset, right? So after you land the kick, you might reset.
Yeah.
You get into a street fight and I land something on somebody and then I'm like, oh, now their friends are running at me.
Yeah.
Right? Need to stop, got to move after the kick, right? Got to throw a couple more after, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to hear you say all those things, that how you blend and where they talk to it.
Yeah.
I also find that with like sort of entrepreneurship, that as you're developing yourself or you're developing the business and your team, you got to not just say, okay, I got somebody or I got a system here and a system here. It's really about where the systems are talking to each other.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's very curious to me, and as you walk through all those and you really think about your strength and your weaknesses, what would you suggest to somebody who's getting into this, who's a little bit younger than you, who's trying this out for the first time? How would you encourage them to keep this sense of passion without losing that once they hit their first wall, their first veil, their first obstacle?
That's a great question because especially like in my profession too, I deal with a lot of people who don't have a background as a personal trainer at the UFC gym. I deal with people who came in and they're like, man, I've never done any martial art. Where do I start?
Right.
My advice to everybody, just in general, jumping in is have a long-term view. Long-term view in a sense that, things are going to get frustrating in the beginning. They are supposed to. But moving past the obstacles and looking ahead and knowing that as long as you're progressing, even if it's 1%, 0.5%, any progression in the right direction is correct. As long as you're not taking a step backwards. And just learning from those kind of obstacles and struggles. Because I went through a lot of them. A lot. Like I got into judo really, really late.
Right.
At San Jose State, which is an Olympic training center.
Right.
And out of the PE class, I came out of the PE class and somehow got a black belt.
Right.
And ranked on the national roster. So it's like the struggle is going to be hard, but the consistency is going to be key. And as long as you're consistent and you learn yourself, I think that's the biggest thing is learning yourself.
Right.
And learning what, your flow or where you fit as far as like what martial art you like or like where you gravitate to. That's where people start to become successful. Because for me, I struggled a lot. I was a sub 500 amateur as a fighter. But a lot of it was because I couldn't find my fit. But in the last 2 years, since I've gone to Alpha Male, started working, with such high level guys and being around such high level minds, and then also going to CSA, I've been able to take things that work for me and start blending it and really start finding things about myself where I'm like, oh, this is what I was missing here.
Right.
And really not making it about making myself to somebody else, but making my own style.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing is making your own style and doing what you do works best for you. And I think that's been the key. That's been the key for me. And that's why now I'm so successful. But at the same time, I went through those struggles and went through those obstacles of doubt and just kept that long vision of like, okay, 1% better. Okay, maybe this time I got my butt kicked or whatever, but tomorrow I came out healthy, I came out good. Let's try this again tomorrow and let's try to do better in this department. And then just going and just keeping the consistency.
Right, which I think for somebody who has just a day job, let's just say, or maybe let me not say that. For somebody who's got to drive that like Amazon truck, for somebody who's got to like put that paperwork or that report in.
Yeah.
That's your Monday morning.
I used to live that life when I was
Straight
an
up.
amateur. I used to live that life.
I always make that joke with my coach. We always talk about that. Like sometimes I'd rather have hard sparring than the Monday morning meetings.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at least I know what I'm dealing with. Like
my life now compared to where it was when I was working as a 9-to-5 civilian and training in the morning, going to work, and then going to train again after work. Like now I wake up, I train, and then the rest of my day is like, hey, the high point of my day is waking up at waking up and going to practice from 9 to 12.
Right.
The rest of the day doesn't matter. I just have to work.
Yeah, there is something about training early morning that changes your body. Or just even, and I learned like training on Sundays at 2, where it's like, I always have that. I always play Sci-Hi the Prince, no dope on Sundays before I go in there. But it's just that mentality of like making it like church.
It feels so good after just going in and just being like, all right, hey man, the rest of my day, I got through the hard part of my day and the fun of my day. The rest of my day is all right. Let's get this grind. Let's pay these bills, and we're good.
So because I'm all about my style and our style, we are at this point now. We used to tell people, yeah, what do you train, Sancho? What is that? Okay, it's like Kung Fu MMA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm watching this amazing. So you're spending part of your time, let's say half at Team Alpha Male.
I would say 3/4, 80%.
Okay, 80%, 80-20. I love this. This keeps coming up this year, 80-20. So you're spending 80% of your time at Team Alpha. Is it still male?
Still Alpha.
Because you got Cavillo up there.
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Okay, because you had some killer girls up there.
Yeah.
So it's just Team Alpha Male. Okay. Team Alpha.
They tried to rebrand it
And
for PC purposes, and so far, it's still
Not working.
It's still Team Alpha Male.
Okay. You're also at CSA.
Yeah.
Which has manufactured some of the most murderous female kickboxers the sport has ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, and then you guys brought in, a killer Sancho guy. They're bringing in stuff. I see the Black Zillions are bringing in folks. I'm starting seeing the Sancho invasion into American MMA. My theory is that we go through waves with this, right? Obviously, it started with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus the wrestling. Right. Then there was the karate. Then there was, the Muay Thai and the boxing. And then the new revolutions that are happening with style bender and whatever. Are we at this point where we're no longer going to have to explain to people what Sancho Sanda is? Or are we still a little bit farther?
No, I think we're still a little further.
Okay.
I think now it's everything's just been so put into the melting pot now.
Yeah.
Where it's like styles necessarily... It's gonna be styleless.
Yeah. I do.
And that's what MMA has turned into. You can't just have one dominant style.
Or it's funny. I remember JK 2 years ago. He would always say we're in the era of the specialists, and now I feel like, especially what I'm seeing going into 2020, I don't think that's true anymore. No. I think if you're one dimensional, you're gonna get slaughtered.
I agree.
I think you need to have a purple belt in 3 styles rather than a black belt in 1.
Yeah. I agree.
And that's where I think where they talk to each other. Because if you get locked into your one way, it's really hard to unlearn it.
Right. You might dominate somebody that's going to struggle with that, but the majority of people are just going to have one thing that they just can counter you with, and then what are you going to do?
And the thing is, everybody's wrestling now.
Right.
Everybody's wrestling now.
Right.
Like you got guys who don't even who aren't even collegiate wrestlers, who are picking up wrestling. Right. Don't have a wrestling background. They're getting good.
Right. They're going in training. I mean, famous story of GSP, right?
Yes. Right.
Saw his hole and went and said, okay, I'll train every day.
I like to use this story because it's statistically proven.
Right.
If you look at Andre Fili's takedown percentage, it's in the mid 90s, mid 90s in the 80s, 80-90%. I remember seeing it in a fight one time. They flashed that. The guy hardly misses on his takedowns.
Right.
But collegiately, he doesn't have any kind of D1 pedigree.
He just puts in the time. Yeah, it's funny. There's a guy I want to introduce you to the next time you come. Shout out to Adisa. And he's a brilliant mind who's on the show with us a lot of times. Yep. And he teaches jiu-jitsu. And one of the things, like, he was bringing me up there just to scramble with the jiu-jitsu guys because they're not used to just getting those slam takedowns, right? And we were just talking about that. Whereas for me, I'm like, yeah, it's not that I don't like fighting off my back. I just am not used to it. So, but again, I understand that that's the fun of martial arts. It's like, let me find the dark space that sucks for me, and I'm exactly where I'm going to start. Who else should we look for? You got you're representing the brand in Northern California with Alpha Male and CSA. Who else do you want to shout out? Who are some of your training partners we should be looking for?
Oh my God.
In these upcoming fights that we should be just watching out for?
Where do I start, man? I know, we need a whole segment just in that. Right off the bat, I don't even know. I look, man, we could spend all day going over who to go. It's like, if I start naming off one, then I got to name one.
Oh, fair.
And then we'll be here all day.
Okay,
literally.
so let me make this offer. If you train with this man and you want to be here, you reach out to him, he'll reach out to me. You're more than welcome to come
Get
here.
you guys in here.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll book them all year. We're happy to do it, and we want to make folks happy. We want the Bay Area to know about the talent that's around here.
I literally would have to name like 50, 60 fighters at least that I train with, where I'm like, oh, you gotta watch out for this one. You gotta watch out for this one.
Got it.
Between both gyms, it is absolutely ridiculous.
I got to tell you, I'm also, did I read or am I wrong in this? Did I see that Garbrandt was training with Mark Henry over in Jersey for a while?
Yeah, he spent some time. He's back now. But he's back. He's back in the gym. He's back at TAM. He's been here
Cody Garbrandt spending time with Muslim Sokolov. Yes. Yes.
He made a little change in his camp and he spends like 3-4 weeks with Mark Henry. Training with the guys.
Because he's out from that area, like Ohio, Jersey, Philadelphia,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
He's from Ohio specifically. So I know this was a new thing for him that he tried out.
I think that sometimes you got you're proof of that. You got to shake it up sometimes. You got to do some different things, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely.
I would think about that differently myself if I was in your shoes. Like whatever's gonna make me uncomfortable, that's where the growth is from.
No, that's exactly what I did. Just moving out there now. Two men. On Monday, it's 2 years.
Yeah. I even know for me, over the last, let's say 2 years, like when I started training again, the first thing I was doing, I realized all my flexibility was gone. And so my coaches sent me to go do yoga. And it was like, okay, it's cool. I'm getting stronger. And then my wife was off going and doing hot yoga. And I came to a class one time and I realized, oh, this is like doing wrestling in the summer.
Yeah.
And I was like, I heard that voice in my head, like, I hate this. I never want to come back. And then I was like, calendar, hot yoga every week. You know what I mean? Like, you got to cross train. You got to do those things that are like, what is it going to bring that's going to shake it up? So now I know when it's time for the summer and I'm doing like wrestling practice, I'm doing takedowns, I'm stuffing everybody else is gassing. And I'm like, I live in this heat. I love this place.
Wrestling practices are brutal.
In Sacramento? Oh man.
Because I'm on the mat with such high quality bodies.
Did you know I used to live in Sacramento?
I did not.
So when I was 3 or something, my parents divorced and my mom moved to Fair Oaks. Do you know where that is?
Near Menlo?
If you go, no, not that Fair Oaks. If you go north of Sacramento proper.
Gotcha.
Okay, there's a town right by Citrus Heights called Fair Oaks.
Okay.
So there's like the river and the bridge. I used to live on that cliff. And the street I lived on was filled with skinheads.
Oh, man.
Which is how I got into martial arts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. So it was like I would spend all summer and weekend there, and then I would come back for the weekday. But that was where a lot of that kind of those summer, like 1 to 3, a lot of that culture, that dry heat. I know exactly what you're talking about.
106
degrees. And you're just like sitting there like, I will go inside that Circle K and swim in your soda. Leave me alone.
There's been a couple practices, I kid you not, where they've been so intense where there's been like maybe like half an inch of water on the mats from sweat.
Yes.
It gets that bad where it's like literally feels like a swimming pool in there.
Oh my God.
It's gotten that bad.
And you're just like, and if it's not the water, it's like, okay, by the way, everyone's going to shower right now because I hate you, Steph.
Oh, 100%.
I hate you, Steph.
Goodness, they have showers right
there.
Right there.
No shoes on the mats.
Yeah.
We're going to take a commercial break and try to pay for some of this stuff. I am the SweetMBA. I am joined by my co-host,
Brane.
And of course, our special guest for this episode,
El Matador.
Everything you hear is brought to you by Dream Ear Productions, and we'll be right back.
This is Tyson Griffin.
Sean Bunch.
Myron the Hitman Smith.
Jordan the Juggernaut Powell.
Mauricio Alonso. Shout out to Cage Against the Machine, MMA Podcast, MMA Fantasy League for you.
You Google them right now, because I'm about to Google them.
By the time you hear this, it will be Black History Month, and we will be black. The fighters tonight, will they be black? We don't know. This is Round 0, Cage Against the Machine, UFC 247 episode, Jones versus Reyes. Over the week, a bit of controversy has happened. And the controversy has happened between one UFC commentator and kickboxer and part-time comedian by the name of Joe Rogan and a man named Stephen A. Smith. I'm going to take a moment to do my J.K. Atkins moment. Nobody seriously thinks that Stephen A. Smith wants that smoke.
No.
Nobody seriously thinks that. And he's not a commentator or a journalist. He gets away with saying stuff like that because nobody calls him on it. But I'll go out on a limb. Stephen A. Smith, if you're serious, don't challenge a 50-year-old man named Joe Rogan. I got it for you. You want to prove you know about MMA? Let's fight. 3 rounds. 3 rounds. Let's just have a kickboxing match.
Got my money on Sweet.
Let's just have a 3-round, and then you can be quiet. Categorically, you do not know what you're talking about when it comes to mixed martial arts.
Right.
If I may retort. Anyways, are you working on your shoulder strikes?
That's been all the rage, man. Now everybody in all these classes want to start doing shoulder strikes.
I mean, because that just got invented, right?
Oh,
I mean,
right.
that just started, right?
It just started. Connor just started that.
Yeah. Shoulder strikes have been part of Muay Thai for what? Since inception?
Yep.
I would have done that to Cerrone too.
Yeah, no, that was smart move.
How long does it take to heal a nose injury?
Oh, man. 3 months, I would say. That's just a nasal fracture. I've had 2.
So if you had your whole orbital and your nose broken before by elbow, how long would you take?
A while.
Like a year, right?
Yeah.
Let's do the math. Help me out here. Cerrone versus Gaethje. November?
I think so. It was
1, 2,
it
3,
wasn't
4
that
months.
long.
And that was a short one.
Short one, okay? Before that, he fought,
Who was it, Pettis?
not Pettis, he fought
Perry.
El Cucuy
Oh, he did?
Right.
in June. I remember on my birthday, I was at Rose Fest. Lit, okay? So that's another 3 months. So really, we shouldn't have been back in the ring until June, right? If we wanted to heal our nose.
Right.
But if I don't know, I'm just saying, if I was a millionaire Irish fighter and I wanted to get back in the ring and get a win, who would I pick?
I'd go after Cowboy.
I would pick
170 on short notice.
He's sponsored by Budweiser.
Yeah.
Dana likes him. He'll take the fight, and I've already told him how I was going to beat him. Years ago, I told him he was too stiff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I swear they were working on Conor versus Frankie Edgar at the time as well. And then it ended up being Cowboy instead.
Yeah.
So it's like you're a 170er trying to fight a 145er. Oh, no, I'll fight a 155 guy, but the guy that gets knocked out all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he knew. I mean, again, and it's like, Cowboy is no joke. He is an incredibly good kickboxer and wrestler. But he also, his body does not heal.
Right.
Because he doesn't
the guy
take
wants to
time
fight
off.
5 times a year.
And at 170, you're just going to have the smoke behind those punches.
And
man.
I think, too, Cowboy mentally is too okay with just having a good fight. And he's okay with losing sometimes.
Yeah.
Like in his head, like even in some of the interviews you see it, it's kind of like, look, man, I'm just here to throw a scrap and let's see what happens, in a sense.
Yeah.
And that sometimes helps him out in a lot of fights where he just like throws caution to the wind and, you know, the best Cowboy shows up. But a lot of times when in these big fights where he, you know, quote unquote shits the bed,
Yeah.
it's because he's kind of like, man, look, I'm cool. Like I'll be fine tomorrow. You know, I'll be fine. I'm
Right.
I'm gonna live. I have my kid. I'll be cool. Whereas Conor, man, Conor knows what's at stake with winning that fight.
Right,
And
with
it's
his reputation.
cash money.
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
So for Conor, it's like he loses that fight. Think about all the money, and he's so money motivated.
Yes.
He loses that fight. Look at all the dollars that go floating out the window. He's got three or four good big money fights.
Yeah.
If he wins that opens the door right here.
Right.
So while Cowboy's kind of like, look, man, it's cool, win or lose, I'm gonna put on a good fight. With Conor, it's like, if I lose this fight, look at all that money I'm gonna lose. I cannot lose. I don't think losing was anywhere in his mind.
No.
And I'm speaking just from a mental standpoint of why.
Right.
Also, why I think Conor had a mental edge over Cowboy.
Yeah.
Physically, that you lay the rest of the cards on the table too. It just lines up.
Don't take my word for it. We're only talking to a professional fighter. We are about to get into the prelims, the early prelims that you will find on the ESPN Plus app. One of the fights that I would like to point out to you is Domingo Pilarte. Did I say that right? Or is it a little
Pilarte. Yeah. Pilarte.
I was close. I've been taking a Spanish class on Audible. I'm working on it. Versus Journey Newsom. Could be the half-black child of the governor.
potentially. He's on a journey.
He's on a journey. I like how he fights. Hella cardio, very long and loose with his strikes. Who would you say might win on this one? Because this is your division.
Probably say Journey NEWSON for the same reasons you said. Very loose, good high pace cardio, good bantamweight.
What do you think?
Honestly, I really don't know anything about these two guys.
Fantasy pick of mine. I need this to win. Speaking of which, can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
I know you want to support your people, and you're really putting forth Mexican pride in fights, and as they should. If you were signed to the UFC, can you shut up, Henry Cejudo?
Oh,
I'd
love to.
You would do that for me?
100%.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. I get all the presents this year.
Easily.
Absolutely.
No soup for you.
Back to the line.
That's funny that these guys got two odd names because Domingo in Spanish is Sunday, yeah?
Yeah.
And so
Sunday.
Sunday versus Journey.
Sunday.
You're having a Sunday journey.
That's too under the nose. That's just too. I wonder what do you think he's going to come out to? Like, Big wheel keep on turning. No.
No, he's going to come out to Journey, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to sing, but I'm not good at it.
I thought it was something about catching the midnight train or something like that.
Oh, terrible. Highway Road. Other fights in our prelims. Who do we want to talk about? This is another interesting one that might be, what's her name? Jessica Double D. Put it on the prelims. Is it Jessica Lee? Am I right?
Oh, no.
Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee. I want to see how she's doing because you remember she had that controversy back at the end of 2019 with her husband.
She's on a streak.
She's on a streak. And then
she lost her last one.
Lost her fight.
Yeah.
And then you got Lauren Murphy, who
is annoying.
I really did not like her on Tough.
Yeah, I didn't like her on Tough either.
But I like her story.
Yeah.
And I will say when she won her last fight, that sound she made was a little bit like a raptor. A little bit, just a little bit like a baby dinosaur. She knocked that girl out. Was like, but I like her story. I mean, if I support anything, this is a person who used to be highly addicted to terrible drugs.
Yeah.
Used martial arts training to beat addiction. How can I hate? How can I hate? I want her to win every time. So where do you see this going? I think Andrea Lee has the wrestling.
Yeah, and that's the route I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I don't know that Lauren's striking is gonna be enough. But she is kind of dangerous. Where she's in the MMA lab.
She's got a lot of tenacity.
She came down from Alaska with what's his name? With Jared Cannonier, that not enough people know how dangerous he is.
Yeah.
So under the tutelage of Benson Henderson, she's got a huge turnaround.
She's tough. She's gonna be tough. But I'm still going Andrea Lee. She even before that she was on a good little streak.
Okay.
I think she's gonna out wrestle her. And even though Murphy's a big 25er, I think that I'm just gonna give the unanimous decision to Andrea.
Okay. You had a fight that you thought we should pay attention to.
Yeah. Well, two actually.
Okay.
So let's go back first to the early prelims.
Okay.
We
just jumping around.
I'll tell you why. Hey, I didn't mention this before, but that Jonathan Martinez and Andre Ewell fight, I think that's gonna be a nice fight. That's gonna be a fun fight. I saw Martinez fight in his last fight in Sacramento.
Okay.
And he did knock out one of my teammates.
Ooh, so it's beef.
I wouldn't say that. Hey, it was a very close fight.
Man, these are all bantamweights.
Yeah, that's what I was.
This is your whole card.
Oh my, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But no, man, they went back. There was a nice little slugger for the first 2 rounds. Once it went to the third, like Martinez was losing, and he looks like Pedro. He looks like Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. Like you wouldn't think he's such a savage, but this cat is a savage. This cat is a savage. He had a 3rd round knockout, and it was a nice knockout.
Right.
The guy looks like it looks like someone's just gonna get run through, but that guy's he's quite a savage. I'm curious to see how he's gonna match up with Ewell because Ewell's a very long striker.
Yeah. Why does he look familiar? I think I remember him.
He just fought not long ago.
Yeah, he does. I think I remember him.
He fought not long ago.
Boxer, right?
Yeah, striker.
Yeah,
I believe he's British too. I think he's British.
Right. And he came out of Dana White's.
I believe I want to say
Contender?
yes, but
I think I remember that.
don't get him confused with the Griffin.
Yeah,
No.
It says he's from Riverside,
Okay, not British then.
not British.
Not British. I'm thinking of somebody else.
You got to be hard to be black from Riverside.
Yeah. He's tall though. He's long, but that's a fight. I think that's gonna be a nice little banger.
Yeah. All right. And then what was the one on the prelims?
The prelim.
You wanted us to pay attention.
That Alex Morono fight is gonna be nice. Morono spent a couple weeks at TAM.
Okay.
Like
Welters, huh?
Yeah, he showed up for like 2-3 weeks at TAM, so he's cool. That cat's tough. That guy could take some damage.
Really?
He's not the most athletic or the most like flashy guy, but that guy will lay the hammer. I mean, that guy's tough. He's never, you can't count that guy out. That's gonna be a fun fight because he's fighting Kalin Williams, who's more athletic than he is for sure.
Why does that name sound familiar? But he's got a creative character, Shadow.
Yeah. I've heard the name. I've seen him fight.
Default
randomly.
person of color.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on a 4-fight streak though.
Morono's can upset. Like it's one of those things where you're like, oh man, he's gonna run him over. But it's like it turns out, I think he can sneak an upset.
Interesting.
He can definitely sneak an upset in this one.
And they don't say his fight camp. Okay, we'll figure this out. So you would put your money on Morono
For this one, yeah,
if I was gonna do
I would
it.
be cool with it.
Okay. That's very interesting. Well, let's get into some trouble here. Let's start our main card and see what's really going on. So again, Cage Cousins, for those of you new here, our job here is to teach you how to watch MMA through the lens of the UFC, the Premier League. Starting off our main card, we have the Beast, the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, a.k.a. Brane Ramos's favorite heavyweight.
Yeah, I was gonna wear my balls was hot T-shirt today, but I
You've loved the Niners longer.
Yeah, I being in the Super Bowl, I had to represent. Plus, I work in Oakland, so I got a lot of Raider fans at my school, so I have to troll the kids.
Yeah.
And one day I went to one of their flag football games, Derek Lewis's last fight, and I had the shirt on, and I wasn't really thinking it through. And as soon as I stepped out of my car, one of my students was like, "His shirt says my balls are hot," and I was like, "Oh, can't wear this shirt around the kids anymore."
Yep.
So I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go 900 out."
And he's fighting ILIR Latifi.
So this is Latifi's first venture into heavyweight.
Yes.
It is, and it's a lot of chaos going on. He's in a new weight division.
Yeah.
His camp is no more, right? He used to spend all his time around Gustafsson,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Gustafsson, yeah.
and what's his name? Who I guess is just coming back. Ginny Manoa.
Manoa again.
Yeah, he unretired?
Yeah.
Because they're saying Gus might come back too, huh?
Yeah.
I hope not, man.
Sounds like the Hulk. Yeah. Stay retired if you're retired, man. I'm not trying to be mean. So I don't know. I don't see.
BJ, get the hint.
I clearly, well, Dana unsigned him, so that will deal with that.
That doesn't mean
Watch
that he
Bellator.
won't.
Watch
Exactly.
Bellator.
I was like, watch him go to Bellator.
Don't you do it,
Bellator,
Coker.
pick him up.
Don't you do
Bare
it?
knuckle boxing.
Don't do it, Coker. Don't you do it?
Watch Coker do it.
Do I get away
You
with
know
the
they
joke
want
every
to.
time?
For some reason, why is that?
BJ's gonna be like, Coke!
Why is bare knuckle boxing love to sign the OGs?
Because they
What
need
is
the
it
money.
about that?
So what do we know? Latifi's got the wrestling, clearly. Will that matter against someone like Derek Lewis, who can just has the sheer strength to just push himself off the ground?
Here's the thing with Lewis, man. Which Lewis are we gonna get?
Right.
And how well is his back gonna hold up?
Yes.
Because he looks great for spurts,
Yeah.
and then his back starts seizing up, which is a problem, and then he kind of disappears a little bit.
Yes.
And
Right.
like he looked pretty trim his last fight. He looked pretty trim. That was
Yeah, he
probably
did.
physically the best
Yeah.
I've ever seen
Yeah.
him.
He trained for a while.
And then you kind of see like his back was kind of acting up. Like he slowed things down a little bit. But again, now we're gonna see Latifi, who was already too short for 205. Now be extremely too short for heavyweight.
Right.
Right.
He's my height. I think he's like 5'9", right? He's like my height.
I think so.
Or I think he's 5'9" tall and then also 5'9" wide.
Right.
But
He's a little bowling ball.
yeah, the guy hits like a truck. So I want to say Derek Lewis, as long as his back holds up, it's gonna be Derek. But man, I've seen the cardio go down, and I've seen the back be an issue so many times for Derek.
Yes.
But I want to say Derek. I'm gonna say Derek.
Oh yeah, you know I got Black Beast.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with that.
Knockout first round.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I wouldn't go that far, but
We'll see.
I hope so.
Okay, fair. Our next fight, Mirsad Bektic versus Dan Ige. Mirsad, where does he train out of? Why does that sound familiar? I know
He's European.
I know him from somewhere.
Josh Emmett knocked him out with a jab.
TriStar.
Right.
So Emmett and you said Elkins trains at Townsend. They both knocked him out.
Elkins got that epic comeback fight on Bektic.
I have that
It
saved
was
on my
a
phone.
comeback. I forgot.
It was one of the greatest comebacks.
Backs ever.
Shout out to Darren Elkins, who beats my ass on the regular.
I have like
I think my wife had him on her fantasy squad at that time.
I have like 4 of those like comebacks. Like it's Elkins with that was a great sound. Cat, which knocked out Amanda Nunes. Right, those sounds that people make after the knock, like that's just that pure like I thought I was done, but
Soul,
I'm not.
yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. So you got Bektic is TriStar. Aish is American Kickboxing Academy.
Ige.
This guy, Ige, sorry.
Dan Ige.
This guy, I don't know Japanese. This is Habib's wrestling.
He is.
He's a jiu-jitsu coach.
The thing with Ige's all over the place because Ige's really cool with Khabib.
Yeah,
He's also really cool with a bunch of Vegas guys.
got it.
And he's actually friends
because
with some
he's
of
from
our alpha.
Hawaii.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
also friends with
Vegas
some of
is
my
what, ninth
alpha
planet?
male guys.
Which I think-
Ninth
one I
Ninth
think-
Island?
Yeah, one of the things I like about the Bay Area and Northern California is everybody cross-pollinates each other.
Yeah.
So there's not really a way to get a beef. Like there was a time when like Alpha had the beef with Alliance through
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But other than that, there's never been really a sort of like
Camp beef.
yeah, there's not a okay, well, it's the Nate Diaz army versus this. It's always been everybody's surprise, like have supported each other.
Right.
little
When
bit.
because when you say beef, you're talking about like competitive.
Like, if
type
you see
thing.
each other,
not like we
we're-
see each other in the streets and we're not trying to like screw you, bro.
Yeah.
Let's-
Yeah, or generally, or you would see people run each other against, run things against it, kind of like universally, AKA guys just
Yeah.
don't get along with Jackson Wink guys.
Right.
They just don't, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? I think if this stays standing, it's Bektic.
Yeah, because I mean, Dan's been compromised standing
Yeah.
a couple times. Even in one of the fights, like with Griffin, he Griffin kind of dropped him or like just pieced him up.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Ige's wrestling is just so freaking good.
Wait, which Griffin?
Yeah, it's not Max. Is it? I forget his first name.
Because he's from SAC too, right?
Max Griffin. That's Max. Yeah, Max Griffin is the welterweight, but there's a different one.
And his Instagram is hilarious.
Jordan Griffin.
Jordan Griffin.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
But he did win that fight.
Who? Griffin?
No, Dan.
No, Ige did, but Griffin
he
was
taken to him. Is what you're saying.
Griffin was winning the fight. The thing
Yeah.
is, I had to watch Jordan Griffin because he was matched up as one of my teammates. So we did a lot of studying on him.
Got it.
And I had to simulate Jordan Griffin for that because he's this tall, rangy southpaw.
That's one of the more
The more you know.
That's one of the more frustrating things about training.
Yeah.
When you have to imitate somebody else and you have to stay in character.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't fight like this, but you have to imitate the guy.
Funny story about that, and this was probably the most because I'm pretty cool, good at duplicating. Like I do my best to imitate, but this is probably the worst time I ever had to imitate somebody was and I've had a couple, but this one in particular, I wanted to pull my hair out. Was with Sarah McMahon for her last fight. So I had to. I gave Sarah McMahon rounds for that fight, and the thing is, I'm not orthodox,
Yeah.
so I had to switch to orthodox.
Okay.
And the thing with Sarah is the looks that she wants an exact duplicate. Like you better do the exact same things. Like if like there's times where she stopped in the middle of the round and was like, well, no, hey, let's she did a little more of this and a little bit of that. And I'm like,
I could see Sarah.
like guys are like usually guys are like just give me a general look and we're cool. Like I never really had anybody be really nitpicky of like maybe once or twice we're like, hey man, throw a little bit more spinning stuff or like hey throw this jab or throw this hook just a little bit more. But I'm like, okay, cool, I'll make the adjustment. Or like, hey, shoot, like okay, cool, I'll make the adjustment, no problem. Like with Sarah, and I love Sarah to death. She's awesome. With Sarah, it was like, okay, well, she throws this exact and she throws this exact. And then I'm like, okay. And if I'm not throwing the exact sequence, it's like, she's like, she'll stop the middle of the round, like, oh, I need you to do this and this. And I'm just like, lady, we're in the middle of a round. Like,
We're sweaty. We're
She was
punching
like,
each other.
He's like, I'm trying to prepare.
Can you let me just get, like, I'm trying to get some work in too. Like, can you just let me do me? Like, I get it. I'm already trying, well, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's like, so yeah, that whole job of like being a partner or like going out of your style and holding that style, it's hard, but it makes you such a good fighter after that.
It does.
McMahon is the one that got me the wheelchair, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. We need to thank him
Shouts
for
out to
that.
her.
Did
Right
I ever
on.
tell you this story?
No.
So when we went to 183, which is actually the anniversary of this weekend.
Right, exactly.
When we Diaz versus Silva, he was still on a cane because he
I had literally
surgery.
tore my meniscus that week
Oh, wow.
in jiu-jitsu practice.
And so
Like Tuesday, I tore it, and we hopped on the plane Thursday
Oh, my
night.
goodness.
So I was like, I'll just take care of you all week or whatever. So we were.
And he lets me borrow a cane, and sitting in the stands, I had it here next to me, and the lady sitting next to me like moved her hand, and I hear clunk, 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 and it fell through like a gap in the thing, down like so, gone. So now I'm like limping without the cane, and then just to add, I got to tell the Uriah Hall story. Like we're going out, and Uriah Hall like bumps me over, and I'm like,
Oh, no.
yo, dude, yo.
knocks him
And
over.
he's like, "Who the F are you? Get the F out." And I'm
That
like,
guy's
"Yo,
a
I'm
massive
a fan
human
of yours.
being.
I'm injured." And he's
He's
like,
a big
I don't
person.
care. I don't care." So I was like, I was really big fan of him until that moment.
I never
But
really liked him.
after that, like, I'm like,
And I'm
holding
Jamaican,
on
and I
to
was
the
like-
rails.
I was like, look, I told him too. I was like, if you bump my homeboy one more time, we're not gonna fight, but your career is gonna end.
Yeah.
I'm just clear with you. So then we go out, and guess who? We're sitting there, and he's waiting. We're trying to get the little van
Yeah.
for somebody to come and pick him up, like the thing. And guess who knocks him over the rails again? Uriah Hall.
Again.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna find someone to shoot you. Hold on, I'll be right back. Right? And then out of nowhere, like we're trying to limp him, and he's like holding on to my arm. And Sarah I think lost that fight. And she was in bad shape.
Oh, wow.
She got up out of her wheelchair and gave that to this dude.
Wow.
She's like, go help
She's
this man
an
out.
awesome human being.
And we're like fans for life.
yeah, she's awesome.
Fans for life.
Really, really nice. Really, really nice person. I love Sarah. Hey, shout out to Sarah, because you know what?
Strap.
Sarah won her last fight.
She sure did.
She completely dominated that last
Yeah.
fight.
She looked good too.
She looked great.
And shout out to Roxanne. You really.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that made my.
Oh,
night.
yeah. She made my day.
Oh, you saw that? That's right. You retweeted that where she was like, "Yeah, that was great."
She's awesome. I was
And,
rooting
and the
for
way
her.
the way she was like, "Oh, I seen her like get injured. Of course, I'm not gonna attack that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to win, but I'm not gonna try
Yeah.
to."
My only gripe with Roxanne in that fight was she didn't pull the what she should have done. She should have done, because with the whole O'Malley Andre Sukumtat, where Sukumtat would have won the fight, probably would have won the fight if he would have just backed off and just said, "Hey, get up."
Yeah.
And clearly O'Malley at the time wouldn't be able to get up because he's so messed up. You probably would have won the fight.
Yeah.
That's where like Roxanne, she didn't have to jump into her guard and grapple with her when in that round where it's
Yeah.
like Roxanne literally could have backed off and just been like nicely
Yeah.
stand up
Yeah. And just
Right.
keep knocking her
and
in
just
the mouth.
keep and,
Yep.
But
And the thing is,
that's the kind of person she is. She's
she
like,
is, and she got mounted. She got
Right.
mounted and like
In
in that-
reverse. Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
reverse, and I'm like, no, but she is a sweetheart.
turned
I do
out
like
well.
Roxanne a
I'm with
lot.
you.
I'm a big fan of Roxanne.
So who did we decide? So I think it's we all think it's probably gonna be
Ige, I'm gonna go Ige.
Ige.
I'm going with
Yeah.
Dan. You know I can't pick against my Hawaiians.
I'm gonna go
Fair.
Ige, even
How
though Bektik's been on a very bad stretch. Emmett knocked him out with a jab. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Dan Ige because I can't. Like I've seen Ige get dropped or Ige get pieced up, and his wrestling just finds a way. Simple as that. His wrestling finds a way.
And didn't Bektik actually beat Lamas once?
I
Yeah.
believe he did. Yeah.
And he also, I think, didn't he get touched up by Groovy Lama or Groovy Londo?
By Lando. I don't know.
Was that with the front kick to the spin? Wasn't
Was
he the
that him?
victim? I don't know.
I don't know if that was that one.
Our next fight, we have Juan Adams versus Justin Taffa.
Adams is hilarious on
Both,
Twitter.
yeah, And on both of these dudes look like I went to high school with them.
Hey, for real.
There's no. So I got a funny story about Justin Taffa. So my mother-in-law I brought to the Stylebender versus Gaslam fight because I was like, oh, there's all these Kiwis on this fight, right?
Yeah.
So she was super excited. And when she showed up as the main card started. And she saw Taffa getting touched up. And she's like, oh, it's gonna be a bad night. And I was like, he may be a poly, but he's actually from Australia. It's gonna be okay. She's like, oh, okay. Juan Adams, what makes him so funny to you? Aside from that
I don't
haircut.
know. He'd just be saying some funny stuff on Twitter, just like posting random like.
Is he the one? Okay, I'll
I'm
follow
going
him.
for a sandwich, but I shouldn't be eating this sandwich. You know what I mean? Just
Is he the one?
randomly.
He got knocked out by Greg Hardy.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah.
he's the one who thought he was gonna be the one to end Greg Hardy, and
Yep.
he was like one that. Yeah, that's what. Just don't talk.
Yeah.
You know who? You know the way to do it? Michael Chiesa.
Yeah.
Michael Chiesa. I like what he did last weekend.
Yeah.
Handled RDA, bowed to him, and then was like, Kobe Covington,
Yep.
I'm gonna end you, and
Let's
then
do it in
walked out.
July.
Yeah. Just
Do it in July. Bye.
no talk. Talk is for after. So Juan Adams, let's see how this works. If Juan gets touched,
I'm going Taffa.
Yeah, I was about to say if Juan has shown me, I don't think he has a heavyweight chin.
2-fight losing streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, he's on his way out if he loses this fight.
For sure. I'm gonna go Taffa. Also, just some poly love. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That EPA in you.
Yeah.
East Palo Alto.
Always. I always love telling everybody about Polynesians and stuff. I'm like, man, I grew up around polys.
I
My
gotta-
entire football team, 3/4 of the football team was Polynesian.
I got to take you to New Zealand. It will blow you away. But
I'd be
there
down.
are
It's beautiful.
neighborhoods there that you swear you're in East Palo Alto.
Oh, I'd
where
love
it just
that.
doesn't make sense. Like some parts of it are Oakland.
Yeah.
Some parts of it are Berkeley. And other parts are East Palo Alto on the other side of the planet. And you're like, I'm so at home. I've been
Yeah.
here before.
Oh.
Like literally the area that's deeply Maori. It's called Middlemore, where Robert Whitaker is from. And it literally, on one side of the tracks, is like their equivalent of Stanford. And
Yeah.
on the other side,
Oh,
it's like,
East Palo Alto.
yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Old school. East
I
Palo
just was
Alto.
making jokes to the wife, like, man, we should put a IKEA over here. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, never mind. So I think we got that fight figured out. Cage Cousins, we're going to take another break. I am the SweetMBA. I'm joined here by,
El Matador.
and as well as,
Brane Damage.
everything you see, hear, and are experiencing is recorded by DeShawn Davis for Dream Ear Productions. Love you very much. Be right back.
We made it this far because of you, and we need more. If you tuned into Cage Against the Machine podcast via iTunes, we need you to act. Follow us on iTunes, rate us, comment, share with your friends, and post this podcast to your social media. Thank you.
We are back. Cage Against the Machine, round 0. The UFC 247. Jones versus Reyes episode. So excited to have a special guest. I feel like I've arrived. So happy to have this man here. Happy to know him. But it's also cool because I'm like an MMA fan. So I'm happy to be in his presence.
How many high school teachers can say that about their high school student?
Right.
Like that's big to me. Like to have one of my high school teachers tell me that it's surreal.
You know, for me, I always idolized my father, my uncles, and my brothers. And I, at an early age, kind of figured I was never going to be as ill as these people. And I was trying to find my lane. But one thing that I saw was from my father and my uncle and especially my brother, who's my martial arts teacher, they had coached or mentored so much that I felt like I had to put numbers on the board. And I didn't know, like at one time, I felt like I prided myself on the amount of like ill-ass young rappers I made, right? And then I look back at some of these, like the music and I don't know that I'm necessarily proud of it, right? Like I could take credit for some of the guys who made it, but I don't know as an art form, I'm as proud, right? Because where do they end up at? Right? What life after rap?
Yeah.
But I always was really proud. So for me, my journey at that time with Build and whatever was really about trying to see how do I build leaders? And if I can invest in a Hector and I can invest in you guys, I can see the multiplier effect, because you're going to go out there and invest in 100 more people. So if I can put something like 500 of you out on the board, now I can affect 50,000.
Yeah.
And that, and not that in my way. I was never like, yo, you're going to do it my way, but more like if I invest in you in the ability to withstand the pressures of the community that are trying to destroy you and bring something back to the community, you will always be that person.
Right.
And I just wanted to make it cool. I just wanted to prove to y'all that, like, yo, like, these stories they're telling you about being a thug and whatever, that don't end up well.
No.
Like, I always used to tell you, I'll take you to them. All the dudes you think are nerds and squares, they're billionaires and they hang out with hot chicks. You know what I'm saying? So, but you just got to have the frame of reference.
Yeah.
And it just also kind of pissed me off. I was like, how are you going to be in East Palo Alto when we around like trillions of dollars at Sound Hill and y'all can't get a piece of that? We're going to change that today. So, but yeah, I don't think I'm that. I think there's other significant other mentors and teachers. But I think one lesson I learned from a deep cat, Mike Caslin, who was like one of the first VCs who put me on, is he says, every time you teach a concept, you live in a piece of eternity, because that person, when they remember that lesson and they teach it to somebody else, they remember you, right? And I think that's what's important about martial arts. That's why we bow when we go in, right? Because we hold that in continuum. We're about to get into the co-main event, which is real. We have 2 championships tonight. I'm very excited about one of them. The other one, you'll see my feelings. The Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko versus
Shevchenko.
What her mama name her, versus Caitlin Chukagian.
Chukagian, no?
They sure don't ask, like, how do you pronounce these names before they book the fight. They're not like, is that a marketable name? Valentina is really up there in the argument for GOAT. Now, if you guys tuned into the UFC 246 warm cool down that I did, I talked about some of the issues that I have with separating out women's MMA versus men MMA. The first reason we have to do it, as you just heard, when Hector goes into the gym and he works out, he's working out with women and men. So when he works out with these high-level women, it doesn't matter that he's a man. He's getting her ready for her fight.
Yes.
But when it comes down to fighting at the 135, it is very important that Hector fight 135 men and that 135 women fight 135 women, because their bodies are made differently.
Yeah.
Muscle structure. Women's bodies are divided a little bit easier. The inside of theirs is a little bit stronger. The outside's a little bit weaker. Vice versa, the outside's very strong, the inside's weak. But the muscle mass, you'll see that. That's why women have much more technique, because they don't have the composition that he has up here. In my argument, Valentino, and I got into this with Twitter today, and it's never a good thing to be on Twitter, but I'm trying to sell my podcast brand, so I have to be on Twitter, right? Because that's the only way to get people to pay attention. So, yeah, I was on Twitter today, and somebody said that Jorge Masvidal had the best boxing in UFC. And I said, above Holly Holm? And they said, be real. She was fighting soccer moms in Albuquerque. And I was like, see, but are you a boxing champ? It's easy for you to say that when you've never been a boxing champ. She was, so you can dismiss her titles, right? And again, I didn't want to get into it with the raging hordes, but I'm like, would you say that if it was a dude, right? Okay, so let's make the countdown. Clearly the top of the pile of GOAT. Well, let me explain my theories of GOAT. I believe GOAT is a chorus. There's not one GOAT. There's a membership that you get into the GOAT, right? Might as well be better than the Hall of Fame. And being GOAT is not the same as being a pioneer. For me, I think Royce Gracie is a pioneer. Right. I think Ken Shamrock is a pioneer, but I don't make them the GOAT. Amanda Nunes is right now GOAT in terms of women. Right. The number 2 spot is a dead heat between Holly Holm and Valentina Shevchenko. Holly Holm has those boxing titles and was at one time the bantamweight champion. Valentina Shevchenko is the current flyweight champion and has won multiple Muay Thai championships. She's also a cop.
And her only losses are Nunes, right?
Nunes, yeah.
If you call them losses,
They were close.
I still don't know that she
They're on
lost.
her record that they're losses.
But again, if you leave it to the judges, right?
Yeah.
Versus KALINN Chokagian.
Yeah.
Is she one of she's one of the New York?
Yes, I want to say I think she's a Mark Henry, one of those.
Oh, I couldn't. Yeah, I didn't know. Is she? Okay.
I believe so.
She's one of them. Okay.
Jersey, Henzo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, what?
Henzo.
Henzo.
Yeah,
So she's
Henzo,
one.
all
Yeah.
those
So the
guys,
Henzo Mafia. Okay. So this will be very, very interesting.
Is this true? Her nickname is the Blonde Fighter?
Yes.
That's her. I believe that's her Instagram handle. too.
Right, because when I match her up against Valentino and I want to say, hey, how can I tell the difference? She's
is
the
a
blonde
bullet?
fighter.
Versus the Bullet.
Why do you do? Look, side note, Cage Cousins. You have a friend who's a MMA fighter. They don't know how to brand themselves for a small fee of how much, DeShawn?
$2 million.
$2 million. The brain trust and marketing genius of SweetMBA and the Cage Against the Machine Mafia will help you come up with a name. We will avoid such tragedies as 25-8. The Muslim headhunter and the blonde fighter. We will brand you and find you a nickname that will make America and the world root for you.
Don't forget the Assassin Baby.
The assassin, baby. Assassino Nino.
It's funny. I have this conversation. I have a teammate at Alpha Male. He's one of the up and coming pro fighters. Really cool guy. He's Iranian. His name's Amir Kazemi. Really cool dude. We've had this dilemma of figuring out a nickname for him, and every time, he wants to figure one out for himself, but he comes up with the worst nicknames I've ever heard.
I believe it.
Ever.
Did he come up with Fear the Amir?
That's one we've played with. He's a big jiu-jitsu guy, so it's kind of like he likes to call himself the back bandit. He's called himself.
Don't do that.
The choking hazard.
You see,
The Iranian
children.
missile crisis.
to be fair, I do believe that Yoel Romero should be called the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Cuban missile.
Because of that knee?
Yeah. But it's just like bomb after bomb after bomb. And it's just like, look, man, you can't give yourself a nickname and you can't give yourself a terrible nickname.
Okay, so you named him on the air. This is your boy. I trust you.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this one for free. Amir Fear. That's what it should be. It's
play
quick.
with
It's
that. Yeah.
easy. It won't be a fight. Amir
That is
Fear.
good.
Right?
Yeah.
See? That's my gift to him.
Yeah. I'll run that past.
That one's,
I'm gonna run that
but
one
I'm a
past
good
you.
drug dealer. The first one's free.
Yeah.
Everyone after you got to pay. Okay, now.
Just keep it as fear. Just keep it as fear.
Yeah.
Just keep it as fear.
Yeah, Amir Fear.
All right. Amir, we're gonna have some conversations, man.
Amir Fear Kazemi. Right?
It's better than choking hazard.
Yeah. Or the back bandit.
The back bandit. Yeah.
It's Kazemi.
Kazemi. Yeah.
I was almost gonna say Uzi Kazumi, but
No.
if it's
Don't do
Kazemi,
it.
that
He's
doesn't work.
playing
No,
with-
don't
yeah.
It
do
doesn't
it.
work. It doesn't
PlayStation
work.
2 video game? What is it?
Yeah. I don't like it.
Banjo Kazooie?
You
Joystick.
see, was that Idiot Abroad? What was that? You ever see that show? Idiot Abroad? No. So what are the talents of Shevchenko? What will the Bullet do? Some of the most, in my opinion, some of the best kickboxing in all of UFC.
Yeah, I agree.
And her spinning back kick is, again, I watch videos of it in the gym and I try to imitate it. There's a technique you can do in Sancho where they'll put a target and it's about a foot by a foot maybe, and where you try to kick your foot in and you pull it out so that way no one can catch it, right? He knows what I'm talking about. And then as a while, you get the target smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm guaranteeing you that she would hit it every time. with that kick. She's so accurate.
She's
It's like that's
bred.
the bullet.
She's bred to do what she
Yeah.
does. Like she's like grown out of a test tube and
Yeah.
like no joke. No
She's the
joke.
female Winter Soldier.
No, for sure. She is. It's
kinda ironic.
She is programmed.
Yes.
Well, she's wow.
She might be the Iron Maiden.
Yeah, she's something else.
Oh, but-
What's up with that dance that she does, the celebration dance?
Oh, yeah.
Looks like Vega from Street Fighter.
I love
Right.
it. I love
Right,
it.
because she's, it's from her country and whatever. And then also, she lives in Peru.
Yeah. She'll claim Peru. I've seen her claim Peru in a couple UFC fights.
Yeah.
Her Spanish
And
is
they
good
speak
too.
Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Her and her sister?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this, that Peru is like on the same equatorial line as sort of like Easter Island and New Zealand, has the same times stamp. So you see a lot of interplay between that culturally. Chokagian, what can we guess about her? What do we know about her?
Tall, rangy fighter. She likes to strike. Pretty good boxing.
Okay. Probably got that Mark Henry boxing.
Yeah. She's got that. She trains at Henzo, so she's got some decent grab. She's well rounded, but she's
Nice.
really tall, really rangy. I don't think any of that's gonna matter against Valentina.
Right.
I have Valentina scrubbing this girl.
Quickly, do we get another knockout out of her?
No.
I don't know. Kagan's a tough cookie.
She's tough. I could see five dominant.
five.
Yeah, full five. I could give her a full five.
Full five.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm giving it 3.
3 round, and then it'll be a finish. Valentina and 3.
Kick to the head.
Again.
Kick to the fucking
I like what I'm with you. I'm doubling down. Knockout by head kick in the 3rd round. I'm with you. I like that. But only if her sister, Antonia, who will be in her corner, who talks like she's from Oakland, makes the sounds when she lands every strike. Have you ever heard, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Yeah, she goes, "Hey," which is such a Muay Thai thing, but the way she says it, it doesn't sound Muay Thai. It sounds straight Oakland side stroke. She's just like,
Antonina. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love those two sisters.
Yeah.
Okay, no offense, because I am a big fan of the Mark Henry camp. I do. And this is going to segue into our next fight. We are now at the moment that DeShawn likes the best. We are now presenting, are you ready, Brane?
The main
event of the evening. Fighting out of the nicest Colombian snowflake. He is the master of the...
Okay. With all seriousness, I could not be more bored with this next fight. I would rather bang my head against the wall, but I'm gonna watch it anyway.
Hey, that's my move.
John's Bones Jones versus Dominic Reyes. So much to say about this fight. I'm troubled. I've spent 4 years comparing John Jones as the Kobe Bryant of MMA, and given recent events, I feel deeply conflicted about saying stuff like that. The most that I will say about Kobe is I don't know that he was given enough time to fully see what he could do and all the other things that he was trying to do to redeem. I'm also deeply troubled that time and time again, it does not seem that for Black men and women that we can be complex and be great and make mistakes. And that's in no way for me to excuse any violence or harm to women. But it just seems like we're going to chase down these people for the rest of their lives. So it was deeply sad. So I'll have to find a new analogy. I'll have to talk about this differently. John Jones is the most physically talented MMA fighter that was ever born. If you were in heaven and you were to construct a person who was supposed to be dominant in the sport, he would look like John Jones. From a family of nothing but champions, Super Bowl champions. But, surprise, surprise, these are champions who've gotten caught for steroids and drugs.
Yeah.
My dad used to say, he has a lot of statements. He used to say, The apple does not fall far from the tree. The company you keep is how they will judge you. So when your brothers, yes, John Jones, I did see your tweet and your Instagram. When your brothers are Super Bowl champions, maybe that. Yes, but your brothers also got caught for drugs.
All of them.
And they all got caught for steroids. And I watched you take an instrument called USADA, which I thought was pretty good, but surprise, surprise. What's the most active 2 letters in USADA?
Us.
Us. And us stands for United States. If you haven't figured out what's going on this week in politics, now you know how corrupt this country is and has been for 300 years. And you would know that even USADA can find corruption. You moved a whole fight from Vegas to LA to break your little rules, and we see that he figured out how to hack the system.
Right, and then they came with the whole, this picogram will be in his system forever.
Cool.
Basically, we'll never test him positive again because we need him.
And we'll change the rules for it. Cool. But John Jones is John Jones. He is who he is, and he's unapologetic about it. I do appreciate more honest John Jones. I just will never be a fan. He's just a huge disappointment to me. And he invalidates a lot of the messages that I try to teach to young people about what it looks like to win. On the other hand, we have this interesting character in Dominic Reyes. I don't even know his nickname.
It says the Devastator.
Dominic the Devastator.
Yeah.
There's this interesting parallel. John Jones, if you remember when he beat Daniel Cormier for the first time, if you could say that he beat him, hands on the cage. He said, first thing he says is, Jackson Winklejohn, we train in the desert. I believe the desert does something to your training. Guess who's from the deserts of California? The Devastator. The Devastator has also served in the U.S. military. He's also an IT professional. Why do I bring this up? Did you know that?
No, I think I thought I also heard that he's a college football player too.
Correct. Why do I bring this up? Because he looks at how to problem solve. And I think we saw that clearly again in his last fight, right?
Yeah.
Against OSP?
Oh, I didn't watch that one. I thought we were talking. No, didn't he have Weidman last?
He knocked out Weidman.
Weidman, you're right. Weidman grabbed him.
Annihilated Weidman.
Weidman, and again, one could argue that Weidman's chin is what we would call rockhold, which means, I'm sorry. I love you, Luke. Not Luke. He's my witness. I root for you, Luke. I lost my voice. I was screaming so loud when you beat up Weidman. But one could argue that Weidman's chin has never been the same from the revenge that Jacare extracted on him.
He hasn't been the same.
But the face that Reyes made when Weidman took him and tried to get a takedown, and you saw him just make the adjustment, and the calculation happened, it was deadly. This is very interesting. John Jones is innovative. He has the wrestling. He has the ability to change levels. He has the ability to confuse. And if anything, what he's really brought into the sport is to show you how to master range. He does a math equation. So let me start. If you ever watch really good boxing, one of the best boxers of all time is a man from Oakland by the name of Andre Ward.
Son of God.
And what he does is this equation. And what he does is he goes in and hits and doesn't get hit. For casual boxing fans, for casual combat sport fans, that's boring. I think my colleague here would tell you, if you train, that trying to go in there and get hit is stupid.
Yeah.
And it will ruin your career. To play the game of I will take 2 to give you 1 is a very dumb game.
Yeah, I know.
And it's how you end up with brain damage.
And them getting knocked out from shoulder strikes.
Right, that's not this brain damage. What is interesting about John Jones is he moves in and he can get off 5 strikes. You maybe get 1 off. You miss because of his range, and he gives you 3 more for trying. So you will always lose the math equation. None of them are all super powerful, but war of attrition, he will break you down. Mm-hmm. He completely, if you look at somebody like power, like Thiago Santos, he completely dismantled that man's joints, right? Which is an interesting thing. But Dominic Reyes is not small either. He's one of the bigger light heavyweights that has ever faced John Jones.
Right.
So he's not going to be intimidated by that, and he's going to get in.
Also southpaw.
Southpaw, which is also, and if I'm thinking about this right, even though John Jones can change, the interesting thing about southpaw is most people train orthodox. So all their movement is to move away from somebody and move to the right. When you deal with the southpaw, all your sides that are not protected or exposed to the southpaw. So anything you land on them really hurts. Anything they land on you really hurts. Most people get out of the groove of how to get out away from southpaws.
And he has a hell of a left.
Yeah. And if you drop your left hand, if you're orthodox and you drop your left hand and that southpaw sees it, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Especially with the head kicks. What is interesting to me about this exchange right here is I obviously, when it comes to John Jones, the grappling exchange is always, and the clinches are always going to be John Jones' place. But I believe that Dominic Reyes has the vigor and the technical ability to get in close and close the range on him and land in a way that Thiago Santos was not able to. The question for me, can Reyes do enough damage to definitively win the fight? We saw, in my opinion, I thought Thiago Santos won at least 3 rounds. What was your thought?
Yeah, I thought it was close. I thought I had 3 rounds for Thiago as well.
But I feel like the institution of the UFC, the judging, whatever, it's always put in a situation where they never want their money. I think McGregor and Jones make money for the UFC, and they're never going to let them lose.
Well, you can just assume judges are. You should always assume judges don't know what the hell they're watching.
Correct, and they're
old boxing judges.
Assume the worst,
and they're lazy.
Always assume
and they're
worst.
lazy. They know the name John Jones. It's easier to score for him. Cool, safe.
Well, just to give a little bit of input too for the fans that for everyone that watches on TV, just to give a little input on how it actually goes with judging. Judges don't see what we see on TV. They don't get the same vantage, and at the end of the round, they mark their score immediately on the spot for that round.
Right.
So
those last 30 seconds,
yes,
last 10 seconds is
the
what's
beginning,
gonna stick out.
The beginning and the end, exactly. The beginning and the end are going to stick out. And they're going to see what they see. Like, they don't see everything, which I think, honestly, they should make a change like that. They should at least have some kind of, television screens or something where they see a lot more angles, because they have limited views. And not to mention, one thing that doesn't get taken into account sometimes is the crowd. If you have a hometown favorite or someone who is favored, you hear the oohs and the ahs on a punch, that's going to sell a little bit more.
Right.
As far as when it comes to what they see, if they see your head whipping back on certain strikes, that's going to sell a little bit more.
Right.
So, and again, but all that gets thrown them out the window because they only focus on the last 10 or 30 seconds of the fight. And that's exactly what they point at the end of the round. They'll knock the bell will ring. They'll go to the stools. They will mark the score, move on to the next round, and it's just on and on and on and on, and then they tally at the end. But you just have to assume the worst when it comes to judges, because again, they're old school boxing guys, and they don't know what the hell's going on the ground.
Right. I love that you brought that point up, and that they're old school boxing judges that don't see the whole picture. It reminds me of an old fight of Oscar De La Hoya and Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker, where De La Hoya was throwing crazy combos and Pernell was just ducking and dodging. He was not touching him.
Yeah.
But then Pernell would do some shimmy shuffle after the round, looking like he was rocked. And the judges ended up giving De La Hoya the fight. I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was like, Pernell won that fight.
The other thing with boxing is you got to remember, Teddy Atlas brought this up. The promotions get to pick the judges. There's a financial incentive for the judges to go the way of the promotion. So if you're De La Hoya, you own the promotion, right? Or you have a hand in it.
It's a hell of a lot worse than boxing. Yeah.
You see it in boxing, they'll take them out to dinner the night before.
It's bad.
Hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey.
If the round is close.
Yeah. No, not even that. They don't even say it, but it's like they took care of your hotel room. They took care of your flight. There's a nice girl waiting for you in your room. You know what I'm getting at? Yep. Oh, hey, I heard your kid likes to play basketball. I happen to have Warriors tickets. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they used to do that in music. It was called payola. That's how music got put on the radios from 1950 to 2000. Well, they still do it. They still do it. They still do that with Nicki's album. She want to go after Travis Scott for it, but they still do that. I used to know hella people would put. Why do you think there's terrible rap on the radio? Because of that type of stuff. Because a good record does not matter, but somebody else would be like, they got dope money or they got Vivendi money.
Play it.
And they don't say it necessarily as. Hey, do this for me. It's more like, hey, I heard you're trying to get your kids into Redwood Day School. I happen to know the executive director there.
Right.
Could you hold on to this record for me? I'll talk to you later. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's always, as you've learned in the government conversations, quid pro quo, but it's implied, but it's never specified. So you see that with judging. Here's my prediction. Dominic Reyes will be the first person in a long time to actually shed blood on Jon Jones.
I can agree with that.
It will not be enough to win the fight, but it will put blood in the water.
Yeah.
The person who will knock out Jon Jones is named Corey Anderson. Jon Jones is going to win by decision. Dominic Reyes will be damaged and disheartened. He'll be back. But ultimately, this will just set up the fight between Jon Jones and Corey Anderson.
And you got Anderson with the knockout?
I do. I think you saw what he did to Yanni Walker?
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
And Jones cannot out wrestle
He's putting
Anderson.
his game together.
Bro, Mark Henry turned him around. And he's, again, Anderson is a perfect example of that thing I keep coming up with, the programmable animal. He's the type of person that when he locks it in and listens to his coaches, he knows what I'm talking about. When you just do what they say they're to do, you get to this moment, this zone where you're 1 second ahead of what they're saying.
He's got a fight lined up, doesn't he?
He had a fight lined up. I don't think they did it. I think they moved it. It was supposed to be a rematch with LATIFI. I think they're moving him up the ladder.
Oh.
Yeah. I think they're moving him up the ladder against somebody who's high up there in the number 2 or 3. It's probably him versus OSP, or I'd have to look at the rankings.
Yeah, no. It's going to be him and Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, yes, for number 1
Rematch.
contender. Right.
That's right.
Yep. So that's my prediction. What do you guys think is going to happen?
I got Jones by decision, too.
Yeah.
I think Jon does a good job of managing rounds.
Yep.
And he's been in this position so many times. It's like it's another walk in the park. As far as like a 5-rounder, Reyes is just. I think this is Reyes has a talent. I think Reyes is great, but this is an example of let's throw Dominic Reyes out there early because he's young.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if he loses, like now more people are gonna know who Dominic Reyes is, and then when Jon Jones is done, then we can push a little bit more on Dominic because it's like, oh, Dominic fought Jon Jones, and it's kind of like the Canelo versus Mayweather move.
I was just gonna say that.
Let's throw young 21-year-old Canelo at Floyd
while he's still green.
While he's still green.
And with Canelo, it was like he got in there and he's like, "Oh, there are levels.
Oh, 100%.
There are levels.
Well, also on the same
I am
time,
not at it."
Let's also note too that they also had Canelo kill himself to make that weight.
Yes, yeah, that's
Go
right.
down to I believe it was 147. They said
right.
they cut
Not even 145.
Yeah,
not 150.
147.
No. Let's cut. Let's
and
break
it's like,
it.
hey, let's send him all the way the hell down there. He's gonna get a hell of a payout. And yeah, you're young, dude. You might lose to Floyd, but it's okay. Now everybody knows your name, and
Right.
now Floyd kind of takes a step back. I think that's kind of the same move with Dominic. Nice, young, explosive lefty. Jon isn't. I don't think Jon's gonna be in that division for too much longer. He's kind of a little bit towards the twilight, and I don't think that division's as heavy. I don't think it's as stacked as it's not as stacked as it used to be.
No.
So it's like. Jon will get this, and then they'll start building. They gotta build up that division for when Jon's is done or moves out. So that's my idea on Reyes.
I like even though like Sweet said, we seen this guy when he was young on a prelim fight and was like, yo, look at this cat, and then once he moved to Wink, we're like, ugh, this could go bad, and then it did, and it turned a lot of people off, and I like that you bring up the point. He's the most gifted, but just the mentality is just, I can't be a fan because your morals are compromised. But I have to give him credit that he cleaned out the division of all the legends, and then now he's cleaning out all the new blood.
Yeah.
Whereas he took out Lionheart Smith. Thiago Santos, if he never has that injury, we could be talking about Reyes versus Santos right now or a rematch. But like you said, once the injury happened, he didn't do enough to be able to say there's the old boxing saying, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. And he didn't definitively beat the champ, so he didn't become champ. And then even if he did with that injury, then they would have went with an interim title because he still
right.
And now Reyes is gonna have his shot, and it should be a fun fight. But I agree with both of you. I can't pick against John Jones in this situation.
I also think back to your point, there's a money aspect in there where Reyes is bringing in this evolving giant Spanish-speaking, Mexican-American audience that, hey, one generation ago, I can't watch the kicking in the head and all that. And now that new generation is like, world star, you know what I mean? And they're like, so even if he loses, they're still going to be loyal to him.
Now everyone's going to know, regardless of what happens in this fight.
Agreed.
A lot more people are going to know who Dominic Reyes is now.
Right.
But can you imagine if he does go out there? I mean, we've seen the surprise knockouts before.
I'm not getting my hopes up.
I'm not.
I think,
I agree.
But if it happens, like that bar at Seawolf was going to explode.
Yeah.
I've said it before and I said it again. Like I said last month, and I was right. Hey, who's going to win, Sweet? McGregor by capitalism. Who's going to win, Sweet? Jones by capitalism. The real fights start next month.
Yeah.
So, before we go, because we do this thing that we do, you're a personal trainer. Yeah. You're an MMA fighter. We always talk about that martial arts can be such a catalyst for someone's life change in a way that so many people try going to the gym. It doesn't work out for them because they don't know that 24-hour fitness is evil. Or they try to get something doing and it doesn't work and they need a reason. And then they find a boxing class or a kickboxing class or jiu-jitsu and it transforms their life. What would you say to somebody who wants to start tomorrow and they just don't have the courage? What is the one thing that they could practice? What's a tip you could give them that's something basic? They don't have to have a lot of money. They live in the projects. They live in the country. They're working part-time. They're driving Uber. What is one thing they could do to start tomorrow that would transform their life?
Wherever you are at, start looking at what's around you, what resources are around you, and make use as best as possible to start. For me, being from East Palo Alto and, being from the hood and whatnot, like my start was the boxing gym.
Right.
Although it was a very small start and it was a little on and off because, I was in high school and I wanted to play football, but that was the spark. And it was a tiny little boxing gym inside of a gymnasium. That it only cost like not even $15-20 a month to enroll. And my dad just dragged me over there. Like, you got to work with what you got. And that's the spark that'll get you going. Because just starting in boxing and then kind of learning that discipline in the drive or, you're getting hooked a little bit. Yeah, I steered off from it. But then it's like, I went to San Jose State and you look at your surroundings and you look at your resources. And I stumbled into judo, which I had zero clue what the hell it was before I even went to state. But took a chance. You look at what's around, then you find out that it's an Olympic training center and such a high level program. And it's like, okay, I don't love judo, I don't really like it, but I'm gonna run with it because I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna use it, and I'm gonna give myself all to it. And you just trust it. So when you got something good around you, take advantage of it. If you got a jiu-jitsu gym that's good, like a mile away from your house, why would you not go there and go check it out? If you got a Muay Thai gym or whatever, a few miles from the house that's in your vicinity or within your resource, use it. If you know somebody that, a fighter or whatever, or some kind of plug at a gym, I think that's the best start, is to look at where you're at and do your research and figure out what do I have around me that fits around my schedule. And once you get started, then you build. You go and you build. And, maybe you go to the boxing gym and you're like, oh, they're sparring over there. Eventually I want to go in there and spar and see what it's like. Jump in there, start sparring. Maybe you get hooked. Maybe you get your ass beat. The first time I sparred and I got a black eye, like a big nasty shiner, got my ass beat, that was the moment where I was like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, I got beat up, or like, oh, it's like, hey, this is kind of cool. I got my ass beat, but I think I can get, let's see how good I can get.
Yeah, success has no addiction to it.
Yeah, so just get started. I think getting started and getting addicted to progress
Yeah.
is the most important thing. So once you get addicted to progress, that's what's gonna keep you going. For me, what ended me, or not ended me with judo, but what kind of wore out with judo, it's the fact that I wasn't like I got good. I felt like I wasn't gonna keep growing in the direction. Like I was never gonna make an Olympic. I wasn't gonna go to the Olympics. But when I jumped into MMA, it was so refreshing because it's like it feels like I'm starting over again.
Yes.
And
Yep.
now I'm learning. I feel like it's like I'm back to the brand new student again, and that addiction of progression restarts again, and then
Yeah.
you just keep going and
Yep.
you keep going and you keep
Yep.
going, and then once you feel like you're not hungry to progress, take it up to the next level or find something new. And that's how it was. Like once I wasn't hungry to progress, I was kind of stuck in that unmotivated. Like I was an amateur and I was losing, and I was kind of like not as unmotivated. I almost contemplated on honestly stop like giving it up. Before my last amateur fight, I was like, because I was on a 4-fight losing streak. So I got to the point where I'm like, man, if I lose this one, I'm gonna give everything I got to this next one. If I lose this one, I'm just gonna hang it. I'm done. But I didn't. I won. And then that hunger, I ran an alpha man. I got that hunger to be like the new guy again.
Yeah.
There we go again. Took it to the next level. I'm a new brand new student again. And you just progress, you progress, you progress. And now it's that same cycle where I'm at now, where I'm like, I'm in that middle of I'm learning and I'm progressing and I'm finally like have my feet under me now.
Yeah.
And it's like carry the next level now and see where I'm at and then just run with it.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I would say, never let money be the barrier, right?
Yeah.
Because I think 9 times out of 10, if you talk to the martial artists or the gym, there's a program there.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised if you put in an hour to clean a mat.
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
probably get 3 hours out of them.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just willing to your heart. And we missed that from the Kung Fu movies, right? Because we're now in the generation where we watch Ip Man and we watch like Jet Li and all this stuff and The Matrix, but we don't watch the old school stuff.
Yeah.
Like the old school, the Karate Kid moments and all that, where it's like, yo, if you put in some work, that is attractive and addictive to the teacher.
And it is, and that was how it was when I boxed. When I was in my boxing gym.
Yeah.
I used to go mornings and afternoons.
Yeah.
And I went every single day, and I was the only one who showed up in the mornings.
Right.
So it got to the point where I was literally training by myself in the mornings, and the boxing coach came up to me, and he told me, he was like, "Hey, you don't have to pay. Your monthly dues. Don't worry about it. You don't have to pay."
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, "What?" It's like, "You're good, dude. As long as you keep coming in the mornings, you keep coming at night.
In your heart.
You're good. You've been putting in the work you deserve. You don't have to pay your dues." I'm like, "Oh, sweet." And so things like that, like just putting in the work and then just doing the extra hours and whatnot, it does pay off. Happened again in judo. I got to a point where I was, I didn't win collegiate nationals, but I got silver. And when you win college nationals, they pay your way to nationals. So I didn't win. One of the coaches was like, "Look, don't worry about it. You earned it. We're still gonna pay your way to nationals." Even though I was like, "Dude, I can't afford it."
Right.
They're like, "Well, we're still gonna pay it your way, even though you didn't win collegiates. We're still gonna pay your way." We were impressed, and then they set me up with a little private. Like I earned a scholarship.
Wow.
Nice.
Like after that, so it's like little things like that where you're
Yeah.
like, you put in enough work, people see that, and they see that you're putting in effort. It pays off. Even to this day, still pays off to this day. The same attitude still pays off.
Right.
People still find the time to be like, "Dude, you've been putting in the work. We notice you haven't made any noise or complained about it. Here you go. The universe will reward you." Every
Amazing.
time. Hasn't let me down yet.
Exactly. Man, absolute pleasure having you here.
Likewise. Always.
Do we do this once a year? You keep coming back?
Yeah, let's
and then,
do it.
And then you send your brothers and sisters down
Yeah.
to us when they have a fight.
I will.
Cage Cousins, we're about to get out of here. Before we go, I need you to go look on your phone right now what you're doing. You see, if you're on YouTube, you see that little button that says subscribe? I need you to press that. Subscribe. You're listening to us on your favorite audio podcast through Anchor. I need you to subscribe as well. I don't care if you comment anymore. I just need you to subscribe. That's how we change the game together. I'm the SweetMBA. It's been an absolute pleasure having Hector here. I'm also joined by Brane Damage. Everything that we do here is brought to you by DeShawn Davis at Dreamier Productions. And it just wouldn't be a show if we didn't tell you, cheer, 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 cheer.